Hello everyone, welcome to GoTarryn TV. This is Dr. T, PhD, the prodigy of sports psychology, welcoming you to our episode number 4 in the 6-week playlist of Exercise is Medicine for Seniors. And I'd like to ask everyone out there, if you please be so kind as to subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave us a comment, and share it with all of your friends and family out there. As we delve into today's episode, this is going to be a wonderful continuation in this playlist. If you've been joining us the last several weeks, then you will see that we've been tying all this together, kind of synthesizing the total package of optimal health. And in today's episode, I visited Legacy Ridge last November 2023 for the very first time and presented to them the simplifying steps to optimal health. I'd like to break it down very simply and keep it in the KISS method. You know what that is, keeping it simple and sweet. And that's what I try to do today for all of the seniors and let them know about things like the acronym FITT, we'll delve into that, and also about the 3 best methods of nutrition, and we'll take a look at that as well. So again, keeping it very sweet and short and simple, and that's what it's all about, simplifying steps to optimal health. That will be today's episode, presented right here by yours truly, Dr. T, PhD, aka Taryn the Traveling Trainer. And I'd like to also ask everyone out there to remember that with GoTarryn Health and Fitness, it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life, and we'll be right back with the latest episode, number 4, right here in the 6-week series of Exercise is Medicine. Can the people in the back hear me okay? Okay, good. Let me know, please, if I need to bring it up. I'll speak a little louder. Okay. How's everybody doing out there? Good. Let's hear it one more time. Wasn't that wonderful? That was great? Yes, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. Very good. Well, my name is Taryn, aka the Traveling Trainer of Peachtree City, and it's great to meet all of you. And I'll be here just giving you some Taryn, T-A-R-R-Y-N. I'll give everybody my business card when I'm wrapping up with the presentation. Yes, Taryn. Think about like you're tearing up a piece of paper. Exactly, yes. Tearing up the exercise floor. That's right. So today, I wanted to make this fun and engaging. I had 2 options. I could either come out here and bore you and just talk to you about why we all need to exercise and eat right. Anybody want me to do that? Maybe not. No. We'd rather have more fun, right? We get yelled at all the time constantly about how we're supposed to eat better and exercise more and, constantly. And when you turn on the television, how many advertisements do we see about weight loss supplements and why we need to look better and M-Sculpt, CoolSculpt, and even face sculpting now? I mean, everything that they've got out there advertising in our faces. So that's not my mission today. My mission is to make it fun and tell you why exercise and why eating healthy can benefit us and create longevity and just a healthier lifestyle altogether, okay? And it's so important. What I'm going to tell you might not necessarily be stuff that you don't already know, but more of a reinforcement. And let me just back up and tell you my perspective of why I'm telling you from, again, my viewpoint, okay? So I am a PhD in performance psychology. So I promise I didn't just walk off the street and say I'm a personal trainer now, okay? I've done a dissertation in my doctoral study. Yes, one more time, please. Very good. Again, I know I've got a lot to live up to with expectations, so that's why I'm going to try my best to tell you again where I'm coming from. So with performance psychology, with what I do, let me just tell you what that is real quick, okay? Everybody knows how to exercise. Everybody in this room can do an exercise, and which we'll do, by the way, when we get to the end. I'm going to challenge you guys. Everybody is going to have the chance. I'm going to evaluate everybody. Just kidding. But we'll make it fun, seriously. So psychologically, it really is important. And here's why, okay? Everybody can, again, you don't have to do this right now, but if I were to ask you to stand up, and some of you could probably do some jumping jacks and push-ups and all that, we're not going to do that right now. But that would be one component. Another component would be, why are we doing it? The how and the why, okay? My doctoral dissertation tried to address that with research questions, asking how and why is exercise important? And by the way, if everybody pays attention and smiles at me when we're done and is happy, you all get a gift before I get out of here, okay? How does that sound? All right. That's our incentive, yes. So here are the objectives. Again, like I said, we're going to look at some basic components and just reinforce, again, how to exercise, but how to do it the KISS method. Anybody know what KISS stands for? There you go, right, I heard it. Yes, keep it simple and short, right? Yes. And that's what we're going to keep it at. So that way you don't have to take notes while I'm talking. You don't have to go back and watch a recording on this. This will be very easy. Again, very easy steps. In the nutritional aspect, I'm going to give you 3 easy primary things to remember from now on. Nutritional means what we're putting into our body, okay? And then from an exercise standpoint, I'm going to give you 4 letters to remember, an acronym that we'll talk about a little bit later. But first, let's talk about, again, just what is the problem in not only Georgia, but also the United States and globally, but especially our country back here in America. We have an obesity problem, okay? An obesity epidemic over the last 50 years that's just grown and grown and grown. What does that mean? Morbid obesity is highest than it's ever been. What I mean by that is people with a BMI, body mass index, and body fat percentage more than 30 on a score. And what in terms of what that means is that, think about it like this, if our body fat percentage was say 30 to 35%, that's too much. We need to bring that down, but it keeps going up. And that's kind of weird, isn't it? Because we know what to do. We're smarter, we're more educated, we're in the richest country in the world, and why can't we address this from that standpoint? We should be able to resolve it, but it's just the opposite, it just keeps going up. Some other stats, we're almost at 40% obesity in the entire country of America, and that number is only going to go up. By the year 2030, we'll be almost at 50%. That's not that far away, so half the country is going to be too fat. You know, we need to stop that and be more lean. And again, when we talk about nutrition first, from a balanced diet, what does that look like? Okay, a balanced diet is going to be healthy. We know what they call macronutrients. We know what a carbohydrate, a protein, and a fat is, right? We also know that we should be drinking water, correct? So when you take those components and you look at how many calories you have in a day, everybody's going to be different across the board, right? But and again, here's the other reason why I'm bringing that up. There's so much misinformation and misconstrued out there that we hear about different types of diets, right? Fad diets. Everybody's heard of any type of diet. I can ask every single person in here, I bet if we went through the whole room, everybody would be able to tell me a different diet that they've heard of, and we wouldn't be repeating one, I'm sure. And what it comes down to is real basic nutrition from what we learned when we were in school, okay? Yeah, right, I heard it. So again, if you didn't hear it, somebody said sugar, right? That's one of the evil words that we eat too much of in this country. Salt, another bad one, absolutely. Did you guys cheat and see my presentation already before I... No, that's good. Sugar and salt, 2 really bad ones, for sure. Too much quantity. So right, we're going to make it so that, again, like I said, I promised, I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice on how to live healthier when it comes to eating, when it comes to food intake. Before I talk about things like macronutrients, micronutrients, essential vitamins and minerals and such, I want to just talk about water for a second. Who in here drinks enough water that they should be drinking every single day? I'm not going to put my hand up because I was just doing that as an example. Okay, good, perfect, nice, very, very good. So we have a couple of ladies that definitely drink enough water. How much is enough water? Well, again, we're all going to be different on that. Most people don't drink enough water at all, unfortunately. And there are other things that are counterproductive to water. Some people who drink too much coffee, like me, tea and sodas and soft drinks and all that. One of the things when it comes to what we drink, we need to, if we're drinking coffee, and I'm included with that, we need to make sure that we keep that down a little bit. And there's other tips that we could do, right, with coffee. We want to watch what else goes in that coffee. Okay, but going back to water, we want to supplement with water enough. Well, it's basically the caffeine. It'll act as a diuretic. So a coffee almost is like a negative water. So I always told my clients, if you drink 1 cup of coffee, you need to fix that by drinking 2 cups of water each time. That's one way of fixing it. And yeah, I know. And again, a lot of people will think, yeah, but I'm going to go to the restroom a lot more. But if you think about it, that's healthier anyway. Our body is primarily 65% made of water, not coffee, but water. And that's what we'd want to replenish it with. It goes with every single thing you could think of in terms of physiological effects. Everything with brain health, blood tissue, organs, metabolism, better sleep, improved energy, everything that you can think of in terms of cardiorespiratory, muscular endurance, anything that I can list out, water is going to be the best source that we can start drinking. So the question was, well, how much is too much? But now how about how much should we be drinking? Here's a tip on that. I always tell clients out there that in terms of what my challenge to you, and you may have heard this, some of you, how much you weigh, let's just use me for example. I'm 180 pounds. I'm 180 pounds. You should take your weight and divide it right in half, and that's the amount of ounces you should have. So for all the mathematicians in here, if I'm 180 pounds, I should be drinking about 90 ounces of water a day. That's a lot. That's a lot of water, right? And so in that case, that would promote healthy maintenance and metabolism and everything else that goes in terms of proper intake and hydration. It's so important. And again, we're not even going to touch alcohol and everything else, but as we know some of the bad habits that there are. Energy drinks is a big one right now in my world. When I'm working with people, I just tell them to avoid those things. They are poison. Soft drinks, all the additives and the preservatives, everything that, if you could read that can and there's like 40 or 50 items on there that you have trouble pronouncing like I do, I would just say don't even drink it. Okay, that's why water is the best. With macronutrients, you have, as I mentioned, carbohydrates, protein, and of course fats, essential fats. And here's something about carbohydrates. They've gotten a bad rap in the last 2 or 3 decades because a lot of people just say, well, just avoid the carbs and you're good to go. That's not necessarily true. What I tell people when it comes to nutrition is to be careful with things like processed foods, saturated fats, trans fats, and some of the things that we mentioned already with salts and sugars. Anything that's saturated fat that is just not essential fat as a fatty acid. You have essential fatty acids, like I'll give you an example. Avocado is one that's really good, or any types of fish that'll have different types of fats in them that are really good for you. But any types of, and again, processed foods that we want to stay away from that are bad fats are things like cake, chocolate, cookies, pies, all the stuff that is good. All the good stuff, right? Right, exactly. And I'll tell you a quick story real fast, and this is a good time to interject that. Just to let you know, I lived here in Peachtree City back in 1989. That was the first time I moved here. And when I was here, the first time I was in school, and then I came back in the early 2000s, and I was a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer technically for about 25 years now, but I couldn't find a job doing that as a living to sustain an income. So and this is a true story, I went to Waffle House and I became a restaurant manager at Waffle House for the next couple of years. That's the best I could do at that time. And if you want to talk about poor nutrition, if you ask me what does a saturated fat, what does a trans fat look like, just go into a Waffle House and just look behind the grill and see what they're cooking. That is evil stuff, okay? Now you can go to Waffle House and eat healthy. I don't want to pick on them, but I'm just giving you an example. You talk about lard and grease and fat. Those are the things that we want to stay away from. That's a clear example of, for example, also, I just saw this recently when I gave one of these speeches that when I was invited out to another place here in Peachtree City, and you could probably visualize this, there was a table of really nice cut vegetables and cucumbers, carrots, and all these really nice, broccoli and everything. And on the other table, somebody had brought in a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, and there were some pie. Which table do you think most people went to? Yeah, right. Nobody, that's not a surprise, right? Because again, psychologically, we're attracted to things like that, unfortunately. It just, feels better. But I guarantee you, just like water, when you eat the healthier foods and those healthier macronutrients, and again, we'll talk about the tips of them, you're going to feel so much better. Because if you think about it like fuel for your body, that's exactly what you're doing. When good in, good out, right? Pretty much. And same thing with bad in, you're going to feel like, sluggish and everything else. I did want to talk about portion control too. That's really important. That's one of the key areas when I get to summarizing the nutrition component of this that'll make more sense. So with portion control, there is something known as food addiction. Has anybody heard that before? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, some people really get surprised that there's such a thing. Of course, there's addiction to pretty much everything under the sun, but food Yeah, clearly there is, because the evidence has shown with 40% now obesity rates in the United States. That's our evidence right there, because we're eating too much. In America, our portion sizes are way too much, out of hand. And what I'm talking about is when you go to any restaurant, pick a restaurant, pick any fast food restaurant out there, all you see is supersize, bigger cups, bigger value. If you get more, you buy more, you pay more than you eat, get to have more on your plate. And that's a big problem right there as well. And again, that's our country right now. That's the advertisements. That's the way it works. When you go out there, that's all you see is just the benefits of being able to consume more, because we live in a country where we are just all about more is better, right? And so the more calories that we can intake. So on a balanced diet, it's really critical to just keep that in check and just keep your plate. And I'll give you a great visualization. I remember when I was in school, probably about, I think middle school, I remember seeing this, that we had a dietitian come out and she had a plate compared to another plate, and the big plate was probably almost twice the size, and she said these were from the same two places, but one of the plates was from 30 years ago, and she said that's what's happened in terms of that was a size medium, now this is a size medium, that was a size large, now this is a size large. So they've gone up on everything in terms of portions, unfortunately. But that's good. Again, one of the things that we can monitor is that we can control that. And it goes back to nutrient-rich foods. Nutrient-rich foods are important because those are your micronutrients. Those are what, vitamin, throwing two examples out. C, and D and E and calcium, all the rest of them. But especially for bone health and density, you talk about calcium and vitamin D. Those are the two most important, especially for women as we age as well, too. One of the things that doctors will tell us is to be careful they don't want us to fall, right? Because we're, at risk if we are falling. And, the worst case scenario, we injure ourselves or get hurt. So for supplementation, if you're eating properly and eating well, which means a well-balanced diet, you shouldn't have those problems of being able to get your essential, recommended dietetically allotted allowances, what you're supposed to be having in a day. But having said that, I always recommend that a good multivitamin is a good idea, because what that's doing is just filling gaps of nutritional deficiencies. If we're low in, say, vitamin, again, D or calcium, if we take a nice multivitamin, or especially for women, women are more susceptible to being possibly lower in iron, so they could take an iron supplementation. Us guys, again, there's different supplements that the doctors will put us on with different recommendations, like men's vitamins and such. But then you hear some other supplements too, like fish oils and fatty acids and, all of the rest of them. And again, I'm not going to get really into that too much, but I think that it's important to just recognize that, again, we have the control to be able to empower ourselves on how healthy we want to be. So also, what I wanted to talk about was just getting enough protein intake, because again, we talked about carbs briefly. Protein is something that I think that's another deficient area that we don't get enough of. What I'm talking about is lean meats. I'm talking about Greek yogurt, things like milk, things that have had bad reputations and have been beat up on. Like they say that, if you have dairy, for example, that leads to inflammation. And there are studies that are just so erroneous that we need to really be careful with. Again, it goes back to the carbs being picked on. It's the right carbs, like the complex carbs. It's the right types of processed foods that we can eat. There are processed foods that are healthy. It's the unprocessed foods that we're talking about that are unfortunately mostly that are marketed to us. And same goes with protein and fats. Essential fatty acids are very crucial and vital. And so when you put all that together, here's the aha moment that we get to, okay? There's three simple, this is the KISS one that I referred to earlier. If you remember this as far as nutrition goes, it's real simple to think about. It's what we eat, how much of it that we eat, and when we eat it in a day. Those are the three things. So what I just said was quantity, quality, and time. Those are the three things. What does that mean? Again, what we're eating. We want to eat healthy food. When are we eating it? We want to make sure that we're eating it in terms of intermittent You've heard intermittent fasting. What the concept is that you want to make sure that you give your food, resting metabolism enough time to digest so that we're not eating at bad times. What's a bad time to eat? Probably late at night, right? Right before you go to bed, if you have a big piece of carbs or what have you, that's going to sit there and that's going to be a negative to our metabolism and it's not going to metabolize efficiently. It goes back to, you've heard this before, that we should basically eat like a king in the morning, a prince in the afternoon, and then a pauper in the evening. So you should eat your biggest meal in the morning, give you the most fuel, and then in the afternoon, a little bit less, and then a little bit right before we go to bed. That way that we're supplemented properly and that we're metabolizing at correct times with basal metabolism. And so again, the quality of the foods, we've touched on that. The quantity, that is just basically going to depend on each and every one of us, in terms of calories, how many calories we should have in a day. If I'm 180 pounds, then I should probably be having somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day. Having said that, I have to make sure that I exercise properly and burning some of those calories off. So again, one more time to summarize the nutrition component, it's quantity, quality, and timing. Okay, very, very important. Just think about those three things. That's my challenge to you, is that whatever you're doing today from this point on for nutrition, my challenge to you is to eat healthier, that's your quality, watch your quantity, the intake of it, and time yourself so that you're better eating more of the food in the morning and then less in the evening as the day goes on. Those three things that I just said, the quantity, quality, and timing, you should always be doing at least one of them every single day, if nothing else. So my challenge would be, take one of them and do it all the time. You should often try to do two of them if you can. Think of them as levers. Pull on those two levers, like a quantity and timing or a quality and quantity. And then rarely, like once in a while, you can detox and do all three. Concentrate and say, this week I'm going to fast and I'm going to eat really well and I'm going to make sure that what I eat is going to be less quantity. Okay, so that kind of summarizes the nutritional part of it. And again, that brings us to exercise, because we mentioned about burning calories a little bit. When you burn enough calories, that is where the exercise component comes in. We know there's a lot of excuses that come up when, we can't exercise, right? We've heard them all. Like, for example, anybody ever heard the excuse, I don't have enough time to exercise, right? I hear that every single day. Or just name it, every single thing that you can think of, there are always reasons where people don't want to exercise. Some people get to the point where they just feel like they just don't want to. And whatever the reason is, the good thing is, I believe strongly that there are solutions to addressing those excuses, because that's all they are. We can always find, I'll give you an example. Like, for the people who tell me, I just don't have enough time to exercise, I have to be at work or whatever time or what have you, those people could just maybe get up a half an hour earlier, right? And just do something in the morning, which again, I was joking a little bit, but at the same time being a little serious. We'll take a look at some of those exercises together here in a minute. By a show of hands, who in here takes advantage of doing a form of exercise a couple times a week at least? Anybody in this room, raise your hand. Does anybody take advantage of that? Okay, because we have the capability to do that, right? Yeah, I'm going to encourage you. Yeah, do that, please, as much as possible. They're probably being too modest. Yeah. But absolutely. Perfect. Then I would encourage you to do it. Yeah, definitely. That's so critical. If it's offered to you right here, how could that be more convenient? Definitely take advantage and do it. Now, why? Why would that be important? Well, again, there's lists of reasons why it's critical to exercise. It would lead to the question of, do we want to live longer? Do we want to live pain-free as much as possible? Do we want to avoid chronic health problems that we have? Do we want to promote ourselves with flexibility and strength and a better cardio endurance? Things like that are going to be so important to look at as any of us age, because everybody in this room, we're all getting older, right? But the good news is, just referencing a book called Younger Next Year. Has anybody heard of that book, Younger Next Year? If not, I encourage you, check that book out. Those cover some basic components that you could take a look at in reversing the age process, which is really amazing. You've seen some side-by-side pictures of some of the people who, for example, my last presentation, I had a picture of a 75-year-old person and another 75-year-old person, and the person on the left looked like they were about 20, 30 years younger than the person on the right. The difference was that person on the left was exercising every day, they were watching what they're eating, all the stuff that I'm telling you. They were avoiding bad habits, they were sleeping good, they were avoiding stress, managing stress if they got any. That's so important to be able to do that. So here's my KISS method on exercising, okay? The acronym FIT, F-I-T-T. I didn't spell it incorrect. There are two T's. Have you heard that? Anybody in this room? FIT, F-I-T-T in the exercise world. Okay, in my world, it's Frequency, intensity, time, and type. That's an easy acronym to remember. Everybody can remember that, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, here's my challenge. If you think about it, this is going to be very simple, okay? Frequency, whatever you're doing, again, as Kelsey mentioned, not enough people in here gave ourselves enough credit, but if we feel like we can add in another day of taking advantage of that 10 a.m. class in the morning, I encourage you to do so. So in other words, what I mean is, if you can fit in another day to do it, so to make it more frequent, do it, please. Anything you could do, even not the class. Let's say that we take our wheelchair, and I challenge you to, from now on, once a week, wheel down the hallway, or even we're having this Indian summer outside when it's days like this, go outside on the wheelchair and roll around and just see if that helps after, and I just challenge you, just throw that in there, one more day a week of something that we could do. The eye intensity, as I mentioned, the resistance level. We want to challenge ourselves so that the exercise is challenging. That's the way that we're going to improve. If we just go through the method, yes, it's good. Movement is good, and there's no question about it. We need to be moving, but we need to be moving more assertively so that we're really challenging ourselves. So on any of the exercises, whatever they're having you do, I'm not telling you to boot camp all the way through and say, okay, I'm going to start doing these crazy workouts. I'm just saying to just step it up, like 5%. That's all I mean. Just 5%, whatever you're doing right now. If you're doing a 1-pound dumbbell weight, then try just some more repetitions, or just try to challenge yourself by doing it more frequently. The time, the duration of the exercise, okay? I'm sure that the classes are timed, so that right there, that's fine, that's limited. But you can, as I mentioned earlier, on the time and duration, you can extend it out. You can get to that class that starts at 10 a.m., get there at 9:40, and do some exercises before the class starts. Not hard exercises, just warming up. Or stay 10 minutes later afterwards and just say, well, that crazy Taryn guy challenged me. I'm going to try to wheel and take my wheelchair down, 5 times down the hallway. I'm going to do that after every single class. The point that I'm making is that if we add on and make it harder and more challenging, it could be fun because we're going to see the results. We're going to feel better. We're going to feel more energetic. We're going to sleep better. And we're going to see the results that we want. The last T, the extra T, is type. What does that mean? That's the mode of exercise. For everybody, it's different. Some people enjoy different types of exercising, whatever that looks like. Some people like to do sit to stands. Anybody know what that is? You don't have to raise your hand. I'm not going to have you volunteer, but you've heard some of the exercises. Some of the, again, exercises that we've seen are the different chair exercises. But whatever that looks like, find the one that works for you. If you don't enjoy a certain exercise, I would encourage you not to do it then if you already know that you avoid it. Some people don't like to swim. I would say, well, that's not the exercise for you. Find something that you like better and that works, more efficiently in your routine. So again, that keeps it simple on the exercise part, okay? Now, I mentioned I wanted to give you some success stories real quick before we actually jump into the exercising together. I was telling Ms. Kelsey before the talk that in my world of health and fitness, I work with a lot of seniors who are either 75 years or more, and a lot of them who I've seen, again, I've been doing this for a long time, if they have ailments or if they don't feel well or if they're injured or need to have rehabilitation. The cool thing, I've never had one client that I've ever had, I promise you, who when we started with our exercise program felt worse off after we got into our exercise routine. It's empirical research. The data shows that it works, okay? So everybody knows that. If you were to take those components, as I mentioned, of building your frequency, intensity, time, and sticking to the type of exercise you want, and taking my challenge, like I'm throwing down the gauntlet, doing it, I promise you, you're only going to feel better. You're going to live longer. You're going to avoid back pain, knee pain, hip problems, avoid different types of ailments, and you're just going to feel so much more limber because that is the components of exercise. When you're, and I'm sure you hear this all the time from the physical therapy folks. They're probably instilling how muscular strength training is important, how cardiovascular endurance, respiratory exercises are beneficial, how stretching is so helpful for flexibility and range of motion. All of these things are just so critical, okay? Before we jump into the exercising, I know I jumped through that a little bit quickly, but are there any questions up to this point at all? Does that kind of make sense, what we've kind of covered so far? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, question. Yes, ma'am. What prevents acid reflux? Well, I'm not a doctor in medical terms, but as far as what you want to look at is when you talk with your doctor and find out one of the first things we're going to look at is in terms of nutrition, like what types of food that you're eating. If you're eating high acidic foods, that's probably one thing to avoid. You probably want to stick at more basic foods that are lower in acid and better pH balance. So what I mean by that is if you deal with something like acid reflux, I could tell you to go to the store, and I've had acid reflux, and I'll take like a Pepcid AC or a Zantac or whatever, and it immediately heals it. But we're all different, though. Some people that doesn't help. So again, I would say that, are you drinking enough water? That would be my first question. That's what the doctor's going to ask. They're going to ask you, how much water are you drinking? That's true, yeah. There are factors that are kind of outliers in terms of, what you can do with drinking, water and such. But the question to ask is, like, if the doctor's giving you the medication and it's working, you just have to find out what's going to help, prevent things like that. Good question, though. Yeah, that's very good. Now, as far as I promised you, the exercising was going to be the fun part because, again, you've sat there already, you've listened to me give my monologue, and now it's time for our engagement, okay? So what I'll ask everybody in here first, again, most of us raised our hands, we already know a basic exercise. Right where we're sitting, okay? Right where we're sitting, can everybody reach up with your right, this is my left, but you're mirroring me, right arm and touch the ceiling. Can you do that real tall? Touch that, there you go, good. Now, slowly bring it down. And I want you to switch. Now take your left arm and reach up and touch that ceiling right there, okay? Now I'm going to ask you to do this 3 more times on each arm, about that pace. You're going 1, and then 1. Good, okay? And then number 2, I want you to breathe, and then breathe. And number 3, I want you to do a big inhale, go this last one, and big exhale, breathe, breathe, breathe. Let me ask you this. Do you feel any better than 5 seconds ago before you did that, right? Everybody, doesn't that feel awesome? Doesn't that feel amazing? Let's do some shoulder rolls. Watch my shoulders. Both of these, you want to roll them backwards like this. 1. Now this one, we're going to go high reps. I'm going to challenge you to 10 in a row. 2. Okay. 3. Just keep rolling your shoulders backwards, just like that. 4. Perfect. 5. Halfway there. And keep breathing. You'll hear me say that constantly. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. I think we got about 3 more to go. Here we go. Last 2, 1 more, and 0. Good, good, good deep breaths. It's very important for breathing. I'm sure, again, the PT folks go over that with you, but breathing is so critical as well, to make sure you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, taking deep breaths. You don't ever want to hold your breath when you're doing an exercise. And another one that we could do together is to work that chest and get the chest and the back muscles working a little bit. So I'm going to ask you to take your arms and just bring them out as far as you can, like this. Stick your chest out, take a deep breath in. As you come in, breathe it out, like that. Breathe it back in, way out as far as you can, sticking the chest out. Breathe out, release. Give me 5 more. 5. Good job, everybody. 4 more. 4, there you go. Breathe. Good. Nice work. Nice, good. Let's do 2 more. All right, 1 more, and 0. Nice, good. I promise you, don't you feel a little bit better? I'm not making this up. See, if we were just sitting here and not doing any of the exercises, afterwards we would just feel like, ah. But the second I had everybody doing some of that, we kind of we're like, hey, that doesn't feel that bad. You could do this inside the residence where you're at. You could do this right here. You could do this when you're in the dining area. Any of these exercises are very, very simple to do. When you're in your chair, there's other stuff that you could do too. If you want to work your leg muscles, we can all do this, can't we? Can everybody see that? Kick your leg up like that? We can all do that. There you go. Good. Nice job. And again, if we're doing this, we're counting reps. I would say let's go for 10 on each side. Or if you're going for time, just time yourself. Watch a clock for 30 seconds and just see how that feels, right? And you're just kicking. There are modifications, by the way, too. The easier way to do this is for me to hold on here. And of course, I want proper form. I'm going to be sitting up tall, right? I don't want to look like this, whichever. I want to be tall like this. To make it harder, take your hands off. It's more balance, right? Okay. Now, for those of us that do feel comfortable standing, you could do a sit to stand. I'm sure, does anybody do these in the class? This looks familiar, right? Some sit to stands. Those are terrific. Those are really good. You can also, by the way, work on balance. Has anybody done this before? Stood on 1 foot. It's another one. I'm not going to ask anybody to do that right now. You don't have to do that right now. I didn't bring my informed consent liability forms yet, so don't worry about doing this one right now. That's okay. That's okay. But again, the cool thing is we could work up to it. I challenge, again, I bet everybody in this room, for whatever, I just heard someone say that we can't do that right now. I'll bet that if you challenge yourself enough that you can get to the point where you can. I'll give you an example. Another success story, one of my clients. She came in and she asked me, I want to just be able to get up off the floor. Anybody can relate to her, right? That was one thing we worked on every single day. She couldn't get up off the floor one time. Now she does it 10 times when she sees me. If she could do it, there's no excuse why any of us couldn't do it, right? In a push-up? There you go. Yeah. Okay, well that's fine. That's all right. That's probably better, you know. And that's okay. Sure. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Have the PT people worked with you? Yeah. Just I'm sure different things like that. They'll be able to work with you, and just I'm a big believer. The most optimist person that you'll ever meet when it comes to exercising, improving any types of ailments and any types of challenges. You just got to keep. This is one of the things. One of my newest clients. He's 88 years old. He's never exercised ever in his whole life, and he wasn't moving and he wasn't eating. He stopped eating completely. And I train his son currently. And his son pleaded with me. He said, just help my dad. And the KISS method that I use with him, I said, I want you to start eating every day, and I want you to start moving every day. And I promise you, now today, he feels wonderful. He feels amazing. And again, I'm not a miracle worker. I'm just a coach. I'm not doing the heavy lifting. It's you guys. You are doing all the work. So with the PT folks, if they're kind of coaching you, you think about it like you're the quarterback, so to speak, because you're doing the work. It's hard work. It's sacrifice. It's so much, again, a lot goes into it. One more thing that I wanted to ask. I forgot. I was going to ask this at the beginning. I apologize. As we're getting towards the end, I wanted to recognize, do we have any military veterans in this room right now? We have a few. Okay, great. Good. Would you, for those of us that didn't raise our hands, could we please give them a hand, please, for Veterans Day? I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Seriously, I really do mean it. And again, I want to thank everybody in here for having me out and giving me the opportunity to kind of tell you about why exercise, why eating is important. So if we didn't learn anything else, I promised you this. I wanted to give everybody a gift in here before I left, okay? I'm about to hand out to everyone in here. You could take it, or you could give it to someone else, or you can throw it away if it's not for you. But this year earlier, I had published my very first peer-reviewed journal article in the Journal of Performance Psychology. And some of this will cover some of the things that we went over to help motivate us and provide self-determination for exercising, okay? So as I mentioned, when I went to get the latest school that I went to attend with my doctoral degree, one of the things I worked on my dissertation was trying to figure out the psychology of how to motivate people, how to get them to move and exercise. So that's one of the biggest things I'm going to leave you with. Again, one more time to summarize, we remember the KISS method, right? For nutrition, quality, quantity, timing. We remember the KISS method for exercise, FITT, frequency, intensity, timing, and type. I'm going to challenge everybody in this room. I'm throwing in the gauntlet. Please do it. And again, thank you very much. I'm going to be handing out those journal article gifts to everybody in here. And also, if you want my contact information, let me know. I've got my business card. I can give that to you as well if you have any further questions. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Okay. Thanks.